All right, check this out. Haven't done these in quite some time. Instant re- Ugh, jeez, that was bad. Jaguars just got done playing. Just lost to the Commanders. Hold on, send that right there. Let's see if we can get some people in here for this. Jeez, that was bad. No, people aren't used to me doing this. Haven't done this in some time, but it was a really good game. Jags just lost to the Washington Commanders. It's a tale of really two halves, but this is why you play 4 quarters of football. Did they look? They had some really really high, some really good points. That third quarter, I won't even lie, was really really positive. Something that people should really take note of and want to see it build upon. I mean, they're still a relatively young team with a signal caller that doesn't have a lot of reps right now in Trevor Lawrence. I wouldn't say he lost the game for you, but there were some times where if he were a better quarterback, you would have had much better success going on with that. But all in all, not the greatest debut for 4 quarters, but as far as for a full game, it was entertaining. The first I kind of went play by play on Twitter for the first half, discussing everything that kind of went on and went down by each place. And neither team really neither side of the ball got off the bus for the Jaguars. The Washington Commanders pretty much dominated the entire first half. They dominated time of possession. They had the same amount of plays, but the yardage was not there. The Jags couldn't catch. The Jags couldn't block. The Jags couldn't do anything. They couldn't stop it. And the one thing that the Jags did do very well that was crazy in the fact that you didn't see them kind of try to continue to do it was the Jags actually were averaging 7.1 yards per carry. But they only rushed the ball for like 7 times in the first half, which kind of shows that, it's a quarterback-driven league, but at the same time, it doesn't matter what level of football you play. Pop Warner, pro, high school, college, you play good defense and you run the ball well, you're going to win a lot of games, or you're going to find yourself in a position. And something that the Jaguars did in 2017 that I think you should take with you in every aspect, whether you have a young quarterback or you have a quarterback that just isn't really that good, is you got to have a governor. And I believe that just last year and this year, too much has been put on Trevor Lawrence, and he's just not there. You got to make him prove to you that he's the guy that's going to be able to take your team and you're going to be able to dominate that. I think he will get there. He's just not there today. He is not in a position to be able to you're able to throw the ball a stupid amount of times, especially early on in the game. Dictate the terms of the battle. You're getting 7.1. You got James Robinson. You got Travis Etienne. You've got some things where you can just keep moving them. Now, they did try to get Travis Etienne the ball in some creative ways. The boy could catch a cold. Trust me, that hurt me more than anybody else because Travis Etienne is on my fantasy team. And I think he dropped two very easy touchdowns. And, obviously that makes me cry a little bit on the inside because I kind of needed those points. Seeing as Cam Akers decided not to fucking show up with the Rams the other day. But it's wild because the expectations that were had were like, okay, this is Doug Peterson is the greatest. He's a complete 180 from Urban Meyer, and we're going to get going, and we're going to be moving forward for most people. And that's just what you've been fed. That's the bullshit you've been fed by mainstream Jaguar media. They are a better team. You can clearly see that they're a better team. But there are some pieces. But before I even get into all of that, just again, the first half, I was proven right about everything that I have said about the Jaguars. Wide receivers couldn't get open. Quarterback play was sporadic. Failure to run the ball. defense was getting gashed. Hell, to use a quote that they used to say back in the day when I played football, which was a little bit more reckless, you could say stuff. The offensive line was like them skeezers. They loved being penetrated. And there was nothing that Trevor could really, really do to be able to save himself. Now, to the tune of let's look at what the stats were, because I screenshotted the first half stats. I even shared it on my I shared it on my Facebook. I shared it on Twitter, just showing what the different the different numbers were, and share everybody's comments on here. Anyways, I can't believe my pictures aren't showing up. Here we go. All right, sorry. First downs it was actually relatively quick. I mean, 12-13 in the first half. The score was 14-3 going into halftime. Total plays, 32 plays for the Jags, 34 for the Commanders. 172 total yards for the Jags, 189. Both teams had 5 drives. Both teams averaged 5.4 yards per play. I mean, 5.4 or 5.6. And actually the Commanders had the turnovers, which is kind of ironic, which is wild. But the time of possession was a full 5 minutes, just dictating the pace, making big plays when they needed to. Even coming down to the end, a lot of similarities. NFL games are really, really close. But going into the third quarter, the Jags defense completely snapped and stifled the Washington Commanders. They were really going out there. They were putting bodies on them. They were destroying them, pushing them around. And then the offense took that same energy. And what did they do? They started off running the ball. I think it was 3 straight carries that turned into a play action where it was a big throw to Christian Kirk. It's crazy. Let the run game set up the passing game. When you have a young quarterback and you have receivers that he doesn't have, that he's not used to having. And it's about balance. You're going and you threw the anyways. So we're going to the third quarter, which was was the bright spot. The third quarter, you're going into this thing. You're punishing them. You're playing ball. You're making them commit more turnovers. You get an erratic. No, I believe this was in that was in the end of the first half. You got a fumble. You have a fumble that probably shouldn't have happened. But it's great strip by Josh Allen, number 41, and you're going in, you're driving, you're doing stuff like that. You're doing great. In that third quarter was just an explosion. That's where you score most of your offensive points. And again, you were committed to running the ball. I'm not an old curmudgeon that just thinks. I mean, just because I think the world was a better place when fullbacks were more involved in the offense, but at the same time, until Christian Kirk can prove to you that he is a number 1 wide receiver, don't put him in number 1 wide receiver positions. You got Marvin Jones runs good routes. Christian Kirk runs better routes. Crazy Zay is getting better. He was very consistent for you today. James Robinson is the most consistent player on this team in the past few years. He's a former 1,000-yard running back. He got hurt last year. But right now, give him the ball. Travis Etienne coming out of the backfield, very explosive, very difficult to guard. I believe one time he had that was Christian Kirk that you got into a situation where you had him line up on the linebacker, which was good situations with that. You got where's the rushing attempts? 18 rushing attempts. Again, I just want to emphasize this. To end the game, you average 6.8 yards a carry on the ground. You've got that. That shows me. I'm not saying every week some teams' run defenses are better, but this is literally the stats are literally showing you that this is going to help, especially when you took the lead. Eat the clock, time of possession, take your ball and go home. Set up the easier throws for Trevor Lawrence. Stop trying to make Trevor Lawrence be something that he's not right now. He will become that, but what he's not right now. It throws a team off balance, man. But I want to say right now, because of the third quarter, he showed apologies to the things that I have said about Trayvon Walker. I've never said Trayvon Walker is a bad player. I just said I didn't think he was the first overall pick. I believe he's a first round pick. I don't believe he was first overall pick. But what he did today is number one overall pick material. You got a sack and an interception, a few game changing things. But before that, it was getting rough. The first time we heard his name was when he jumped off sides. But he did it. He did well. I think, where the weaknesses are showed. They were glaring. Your corners. Even Tyson Campbell's got good, but I remember talking to a general manager when I was up in Indianapolis, and he talked to me about, what are have the Jaguars truly address the needs that they need to address for the type of defense that they want to play? They want to play man defense, and he's like, Shaq Griffin isn't a man corner. I remember Denny Thompson bringing up something one time when we were still with the sports then. Oh, no. Yeah, when we were still with sports then. And he said Shaq is the only corner that he's ever seen that had literally straight arms, like no muscle definitions, like literal pipe cleaners. And I think to be able to play man, you got to be able to jam, you got to be strong, you got to be physical. That man was in a blender, in a world of hurt. Most of the time most of the big plays came with him, and he's the most veteran corner. Tyson Campbell is still, like that last touchdown, you see where he missed. He still doesn't have the adequate ball skills, but he's way better than he was when he was a rookie, when he first came in. He progressed, he's gotten better, but you still need somebody that can play. If you're going to play man, you need guys like Xavier Howard. I know nobody wants to hear this, but Jalen, guys who know how to play man. No offensive balance, shell coverage on defense, hot garbage. Exactly. This zone 6 shit that everybody's been trying to get, don't know what the fuck that is, man. Do you blame Doug for the loss because you left points on the board? They're going forward on fourth down before the half, I believe. I'm not mad at that because that was your chance. Going forward, but missing the field goal, I can't blame him on that. You're trying to get momentum. You're trying to see what your team is. You have that. You have the swing. So I'm not mad at those things per se. I just think overall, you can't. The NFL isn't college. So college is where, we got exponentially better, and Kentucky, let's say we got exponentially better, and Clemson's lost their starting quarterback and their starting wide receiver. Well, now that actually might mean something. In the NFL, everybody gets better every year. Everybody thinks that they've improved. It's not just you. And to think that, we got better and it's just a stationary thing, it's asinine. It makes absolutely no sense. And I want to make sure I'm saying things right. Man was balling. Yeah, somebody hit me up about Trayvon Walker. Boy, brother was balling. But there's only there's 53 players on every active roster, of which I believe 48 play. So you're already one of the best football players in America by just being on an NFL roster. So it just depends on what you've done, what fits your scheme, and how much better you're truly getting. Let's just look at the entire roster, top to bottom. I mean, let's see. I mean, I know people have said Cam Robinson's gotten better, but he's been here for a while. You've never upgraded. Make sure I'm pulling out the depth chart. Because I think that's where you have to really ask yourself. And I know somebody asked, do I blame Doug? Doug is always to blame. It begins and it ends with the head coach and garbage Ben Balky. But is Trevor Lawrence one of the top quarterbacks in the league, top young quarterbacks maybe? We don't know. It's still out there. Travis Etienne, I think James Robinson could be considered a top 15 back. But we don't know. He's coming off an injury. Christian Kirk is not you couldn't consider him one of the top wide receivers. Marvin Jones Jr. isn't one of the top wide receivers. Zay Jones isn't one of the top wide receivers. Evan Ingram might be considered a good tight end, but he's not even really your main guy, Chris Maris. So in your skill positions, you don't have a guy that like right now. If you did like in Madden, they used to do like the not the fantasy drafts. You put all these guys out. Not one of those guys I mentioned would 32. Like they used to have it where you can pick everybody. They make everybody a free agent and they go through a draft. That's what they used to do in the Madden games. Not one person that I mentioned, everybody would be clamoring for. They would be on a team, but they wouldn't be the first person that you would put there. Or even, I would even go as far as to say top 5. I would even go as far as to say top 10. Yeah, Cam Robinson, Luke Fortner, Ben Barch, Brandon Scherf, and Juwan Taylor. Juwan Taylor's ass. Nobody's going to get Juwan Taylor. A couple of other guys are too young. Ben Barch was a reach when we drafted him. Cam Robinson. The toughest thing that Cam Robinson has ever done was get mad at Mia O'Brien for challenging him about Walker Little. But Juwan Taylor got pulled because Juwan Taylor was getting work. He may be hurt, but he was getting work. Now, defensively, there are a few guys that I do believe. The Olu guy, I know people would clamor to get him. He led the league in tackles last year, if I remember correctly. Outside, Josh Allen, maybe. Trayvon Walker, again, balled out. I'll give you that. Outside of that, there's really nobody on this team. So, like, yes, you got better, but when you look at other Allen over there for the Commanders, people would fight to get Allen, even though he got hurt. People would fight to get somebody. You don't have those tools here on this team, but what you do have is a nucleus of young players that, as they get more reps, they will continue to get better, and at the end of the season, we'll have more of a vibe. We'll have more of an understanding of exactly what it is that we want, that the Jaguars are, and you'll be more talented with those reps. But outside of this, a better team boat races the Jacksonville Jaguars. If that product that was put on the field today is put on the field at all next week. See, who did the Jags see next week? Never mind. You'll probably get away with it next week with a victory at home against the Colts. But it's got to get better. It's got to get cleaned up. There is no way in hell that you should ever lose a game when the other team commits 3 turnovers and you have none at that point. It shouldn't even be a fight. Now, getting to the fourth quarter with the Jags completely cheesed up, even though there was a pick by, I believe, Tyson Campbell that put them in a position to be able to where they should have won, where it should have been over. But the secondary continuously getting ate up makes absolutely no sense. And that last series where Trevor Lawrence and what he did was completely unnecessary and unacceptable. You're in 4-down territory. You're leading. You have 90 seconds. There was no need for you to throw that bomb. Really, and a bomb is relative. There's no need for you to throw a punt to number 22 for the Commanders, who had a hell of a game. Probably going to get Travis Etienne and him because he laid his ass, because Trevor got his ass laid out. And you either throw the check down or you throw it away, give yourself the 4th down. Because all you have to do is get a 1st down. You still have timeouts. You still have out of bounds, and you've been eating them up on the inside the entire game once you started getting in your rhythm and getting your confidence up. So what you got to do, Trevor, is be the leader. You have all the fame. Everybody's pointing at you. The team rises and falls based on your level of execution. And that's what you got to realize. Is it fair? Nah, but to quote my church friends, favor ain't fair. So it's what you got. You have to be able to go out there and do it. You got to be able to go out and execute. If anybody has any questions for the game, please feel free to put it in the comments. We'll answer them. We'll put you up on the screen. We'll do everything to the best of our ability. If you're on Twitter, you need to come to the YouTube channel on Den Media Group, or you need to come to the Facebook so that you can be able to answer your questions. Gabriel, I saw little of the Jazz game. Trevor getting hit like crazy. That O-line looked like ass. Yeah, like I said earlier, that O-line's like the Skeezers. They just love penetration. So he was getting rocked, but there were times when he had time. And he just made bad decisions. But that also goes into what the offensive game plan is. Why are they running so many? You don't have that guy. I don't care what the media's told you. There is nobody on this. Christian Kirk, when he had Hop, yes, you are that guy. Yes, but you don't have that guy who is a wide receiver that you just know is going to get open no matter what. Okay, man, we need a big play. All right, we're going to dial it up. We know he's going to dominate a corner. So what you have to do is do things that rub routes, do things that get your guys open. You did it a few times with Christian Kirk. You did it with Zay Jones a lot. Get the guys open. This team here in particular for whatever reason was afraid of the speed of the Jaguars. So they were taking away the outside and deep. But the middle of the field was there open. But what they should have done was, when they're bringing kind of pressure like that, you have got to check down to your running backs, or you got to check down to your tight ends. And what's crazy is in today's society, we've gotten away from that. Man, the biggest mismatch on the field is a running back on a linebacker. And a lot of these tight ends are just wide receivers with a meal plan. So it's really is natural. It just doesn't make Sports Center top 10. But if you're trying to win football games, you can't be worried about making Sports Center top 10. You got to take what they give you. And what happens is you show tendencies early in the season, and then the big, deep plays are there later on. And that's basically what it comes down to. But that's me without me knowing what he's being taught or what his reads are. But it does look like he's going down the field and then trying to come back, or he's locking in. And even with all of that, he still played relatively decent. And again, like I said, relatively. But you'll be able to get away with it against teams that don't have an offense that has a top tier quarterback, an offense that doesn't have an offense on the other side that doesn't have that. And when you play a better defense, a more fierce defense, you're going to find yourself in some precarious spots, because he did take a lot of hits. I mean, he should go soak in the ice stuff. Hopefully, you go see my boy Joe and get some of that cryotherapy. I'm trying to look at exactly what Trevor. I mean, 24-42. It's not good at all. I'm just this here sickens me though. Jamie Robinson had 11 carries for 66 yards, 6 yards a carry. Travis Etienne had 4 carries for 47 yards, averaging 11.8 yards per carry. Christian Kirk did go over that big bomb, got him over 100 yards, which is good. It was dope. But I think it was too much emphasis on this. Oh, and a guy who I didn't know, it was a quiet big game, but Devin Lloyd. Shout out to Devin Lloyd. 11 tackles, 8 solo. I didn't realize that he was really making. Only thing I remember is seeing him get shook out of his shoes, and that was crazy. Priscilla asked, let me push this right. Do you think Trevor sometimes plays like he's scared? I don't think he's scared. I think sometimes what happens when you have the ball in your hand, every play, you put yourself in situations where you feel like you have to make the play and you do unnecessary shit. That's what I believe Trevor did. He just did some unnecessary shit. Outside of that, I think T-Law's gonna be all right. He just gotta get a better feel of the game. But all in all, there is no moral victories. Moral victories are for minor league coaches. I really wish the Jags would have come out victorious, but they didn't. If you want more insight, check me out on First Coast News tonight with Chris Porter, which will probably be on our YouTube page. We'll have that posted up earlier today. This will be on SoundCloud, the Sports Den SoundCloud. Share this, check it out. Every week we will do a breakdown of a post-game reaction of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it'll be on our YouTube, our Facebook, and our Twitter page. Other than that, enjoy your weekend. Hey, no matter what happened, football is back, and we are blessed and grateful to have it. And we'll see you guys later. Check out Sports Den tomorrow.